Why do so many Jews support gun control?
Part of God's law, as given in the Torah, is that we have a right to defend ourselves.
Have they forgotten their past?
We need to prepare to defend ourselves and defend our lives against those who would hurt us.
Why do so many Jews favor disarming law-abiding citizens?
We have an obligation to defend ourselves. We have a right to defend our property.
Has never again become meaningless.
It's in fact considered to be the most unnatural idea that you would try to take that right away from someone.
Self-preservation is a God-given right, as described in the Torah. Contrary to God's law, many Jewish politicians and influential Jewish leaders promote gun control measures that take away that right. They believe in man's law, the same laws that have denied Jews the ability to arm and defend themselves and their property for thousands of years. The same laws that make it illegal for Jews to follow the commandments in Torah law that obligates Jews to defend themselves.
Historically, the Jewish people have been denied the option of self-defense. Really, it's in America today, it's in Western civilization today that we have the possibility of arming and protecting ourselves. The last time Jews were allowed to own any kind of defensive weaponry was during the time of Bavel, the authors of the Babylonian Talmud. During that period, Jews were allowed to be armed. But from then until today, Jews by and large have been disarmed. And so we have not been prepared to defend ourselves. We are not used to this way of thinking. We are very much used to being the victim.
(1928), pre-Nazi Germany. Street violence breaks out due to political and economic uncertainty. Well-intended citizens with seemingly good intentions, like the seemingly good intentions of Jewish gun control advocates today, passed the 1928 Firearms and Ammunition Control Act, which required all gun owners to register their firearms. The foundation for disaster was laid. Little did they know or foresee the consequences. (1933), Hitler is elected to power. He uses the registered names of firearm owners to his advantage. While loyal party members were excluded, all law-abiding gun owners were put on a list, the same kind of list gun control promoters want in America today. Gun owners were then slowly and systematically disarmed. 1938, Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. The Nazis know exactly how many Jews have firearms. They know exactly how little resistance they will encounter. On the 9th of November, the coordinated attack begins. "91 Jews are murdered. 25 to 35,000 are arrested and placed in concentration camps. One day later, an amendment prohibiting Jews from possessing weapons is passed.
Juden ist der Erwerb, der Besitz und das Führen von Schusswaffen und Munition.
Jews are prohibited from acquiring, possessing, and carrying firearms and ammunition.
Waffen und Munition, die sich im Besitz eines
Firearms and ammunition found in a Jew's possession will be forfeited to the government without compensation.
Wer den Vorschriften des Paragraphen 1 vorsätzlich
Whoever willfully or negligently violates the provision will be punished with imprisonment and a fine.
bis zu 5 Jahren.
This is man's law at work. This is man's law creating situations where people are vulnerable.
When the right to self-defense is denied, God's law is violated. Would history have been rewritten if the SS confronted thousands of armed Jews during the riots of Kristallnacht?
I'm not going to say that things would have been different if they had been armed. I don't know how things would have been. But I am going to say that if they had been armed, they had a chance.
1940, 400,000 unarmed Polish Jews are herded into the Warsaw Ghetto, awaiting deportation to Nazi extermination camps. 1943, a few hundred Jewish resistance fighters armed with smuggled-in pistols and rifles succeed in stopping the well-trained and heavily equipped Nazi forces for a month.
Facing a machine gun, there isn't much that a group of unarmed civilians can possibly do. I don't know what would have been different, and I'm certainly not going to stand here and say the Holocaust wouldn't have happened. I don't know. But I do know that if Jews had not turned in their firearms, if Jews had not registered their guns on Hitler's registry, things would have been different. Could they perhaps have better protected and defended themselves?
Leading up to the war for Israeli independence, laws were enacted to prohibit the sale of firearms to Jews under the British Mandate for Palestine. An arms embargo was imposed, weapons were confiscated, and Jews, if found with a gun, were arrested and jailed. Once again, seemingly good-intended gun control legislation was enacted as a means to diffuse tension among the Arabs. In exchange, the British promised the Jewish people protection.
This is very much a recurring story. No, the British did not protect the Jewish people, and when the Arab muftis would incite crowds to riot against the Jewish people, the British did very little to stop that.
To defend themselves, the Zionists built secret ammunition factories and kibbutzes. They illegally purchased and hid World War II-issued Nazi Mauser rifles. The swastika was filed off and replaced with the Star of David. Ironically, these weapons later proved decisive in the 1948 War for Independence.
It's ironic, isn't it? We Jews, we sit in America, and most of us don't own guns. Most of us think guns are somehow non-Jewish in some strange way. And yet, we're very proud to see an Israeli soldier carrying an Uzi, an M16, whatever it is, flying a fighter plane. That makes us proud. And yet, in some strange way, it's not for us. These things don't happen here.
Terrorism against Jews is not an ocean apart, and Jewish oppression is not a chapter in the history books. It's alive and well today.
Stop and think here for a minute in this room where we're standing. If an active shooter walked into this room right now, what would happen? Would any of us know what to do? Would any of us have anything at all that we could do about it?